Welcome to Fandom Post Radio. We are talking about our top anime of last year, as we do at the beginning of each year. I am Kestrel. We have Cain.
Hello.
And we have Brandon.
Yo.
I doubt DJ has watched a single anime in the past year. And he is mourning the loss of David Lynch, so we'll let him off this time.
Damn.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
What do you think the over-under is on collected animes watched in 2024 from DJ and Kate?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say fewer than 5 for DJ. Maybe 4 to 6 for Kate.
Yeah, just depending on if she's writing about one or not.
Yeah.
That's the big deciding factor.
I'll give her maybe up to 7.
Yeah. I'm going to say...
I'd take the under on that every day of the week.
Yeah, okay.
I'll put the collective over-under at 10, and I'd still bet the under for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Kate averaged 1 show a season, so I'll say 4 for her, and maybe 2 for DJ.
There you go. Now we're getting into real Vegas odds.
Yeah.
We have to you got to make some tough choices.
Yeah. I don't know how sports betting works, so I don't know what over-under means, but those are my guesses.
It's pretty straightforward. It just means you pick a number and then you bet if the result is going to be over or under said number. So when you said 10, it's like there's no way they got to 10.
Sure, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Collectively, yeah, still less than 10 total, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, we need that Fandom Post DraftKings collab. It's coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely. Isn't there some sports betting thing that's like FanDuel or something?
FanDuel?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow, there you go.
FanDuel Post?
FanDuel Post. Okay.
All right.
I can already hear the dollar signs, baby. We're going to turn these anime degenerates into gambling degenerates. Real quick.
Don't worry, Cain. They've been there for many years. I don't know if you've ever heard of gotcha games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I play one of those.
Yeah. You ever been to a site called Salty Bet?
Oh, yeah. I know all about that shit. Never mind. We're good.
Yep.
It's one and the same.
Absolutely. Okay, anyway. You guys all know the drill. We do this every year. We're going to have our top 10 to 6 in relatively lightning round, maybe some honorable mentions in there. We're going to count down our 5s to 1s round robin with a little more detail. There's going to be some overlaps in there. And in between, when we have breaks, we will read some lists that I got from my people. I don't think anyone else got us any lists, but we've got a few from my people, so we'll do that. And then after we're all done, we will aggregate our top 10s and then everyone's top 5s, including our own, and count down what the overall top picks were from those 2 aggregates.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So unless anyone has anything else as a prelude, we can jump into Brandon's 10 through 6.
I had one thing, and I meant to screenshot it and send it to you in particular, Kestrel, but in my news feed this morning, it said, where to go to watch the new Castlevania anime? And I was like, yeah, this is going to work. Because the second season came out today, and it goes, where to watch this brand new anime? And I'm like, this is going to ruffle some feathers. So I'm just going to send this off.
Well, there's no Scott Pilgrims on this year's list, so
yeah,
at least we can have that debate.
Right, exactly. I think everyone's choices were pretty unarguably anime this time, so that's good.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, you can read off yours, and I just wanted to bring that up again, that for some reason Netflix just thinks most things animated are therefore anime.
I mean, to be fair, of the ones that they have prescribed that to, Castlevania is meant to look like quote-unquote anime.
True.
Unlike, I don't know,
Tomb
Kevin
Raider,
Smith's
the anime.
He-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the He-Man. I forgot about that.
They've gotten better about that recently, though. They don't market as many of them as anime anymore. But Texas's own Castlevania still gets the anime stamp of approval, I guess.
Watashi wa anime.
Yep.
Partner. All right. Anyways, kicking it off, my 10 through 6. At number 10, I have Konosuba Season 3. I feel like I needed something more lighthearted to round out at the top, and Konosuba came back this year, same old, just some good degenerate laughing, and there's still some like the best voice acting out of that cast. It's just such a tightly knit little group of goofballs, and I love it every time. Number 9, I have Hibike Euphonium Season 3. This was a really wonderful season. I love the music is always top tier, and I feel like it's Kyoto Annie always at their best in terms of design and animation. But for some reason, it just didn't hit as hard as the previous 2 seasons have for me personally. I did like the focus on I'm forgetting her name, but like the main euphonium, on her being like in charge and kind of like dealing with juggling all of that. But yeah, we have My Hero Season 7 at number 8 for me. I thought well,
There's only
Cain
one
has-
more, Cain.
Cain has something to say.
No, I'm just gonna insert those in random choices without any context whatsoever.
Excellent.
I will say, I just think this was one of the better My Hero seasons since they started doing like the dual core format where they like intersperse a movie between. I thought like the previous 2 seasons just like really dragged, and that movie production schedule thing would kind of pull away from certain parts that I felt like really hurt, like the production of like the 4th season in particular, but also the last couple. But this season altogether, I thought ran pretty smoothly in terms of pacing and animation, and it's some of the best arcs in the show as we're coming to its end. They wrapped up really nicely, and everything to do with the Todoroki family is like pure gold. So like I loved a lot of what came out of this season. At number 7, I've got Go Go Loser Ranger. This one, a bit of a surprise hit for me. I expected to like it, but not as much as I did. Fairly original plot in terms of things that I'm used to watching, but I love anything that is kind of tokusatsu adjacent, and I thought this show had a really unique premise. The second half, I feel like it dragged out a little bit, but I'm still very interested to see where this goes in the future. And then at number 6, I have The Elusive Samurai. Overall, I just think this show is just like so well made. It really got that primo Shonen Jump action series budget and everything it needed to just like look great, sound great, and everything in between. I just thought everything all together, it was like a very well-made production for like a generally very basic type of story that you kind of see a lot of in anime, but I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
My only comment on The Elusive Samurai and its production quality is, but what about when they had horses?
Yeah, that's the horses are an inevitable dip factor, which doesn't make me too excited to see when Steel Ball Run is eventually animated. But
I'm scared.
I'm very scared for that. But yeah, aside from the CG horse here and there, I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
It's just-
I saw the only thing about this is I think an Instagram reel of one of the fight scenes in like a dojo.
Yeah.
And that
He's,
looked
like,
really, really good. It made
bouncing
me
off of the
curious
walls.
about the show.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, she's like bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Really like high energy, really well animated. I didn't know much about the show beforehand, but it certainly piqued my interest. Obviously, it doesn't explain anything about the plot whatsoever to watch one fight scene, so who knows if the plot would interest me, but the art and animation alone would be good. I wanted to ask real quick about the Go-Go Loser Ranger thing. So
Yeah.
that show also piqued my interest and looked like a fun sort of watch, like action-y kind of with some comedic elements and things. But do you need to know tokusatsu stuff to watch it? Because I know like fuck all about Power Rangers, other than like Power Rangers, any of that tokusatsu stuff, other than when I was a kid. So if it's like filled with inside jokes and stuff or running gags, I would over my head immediately.
No, I think if you have a general understanding of like what I mean, the tale it entails like a team of good guys weekly fighting like a group of bad guys and maybe like a weird creature monster that gets really big and then they all combine their power to defeat it. You know, if you understand like the basic formula of one of those shows, that's all the knowledge you really need, and it's just kind of like a subversion of that where you follow one of the enemy guys and he's like, I'm sick of just like being the guy who gets beat up every week. I'm gonna like take out the heroes, but you find out it's a little bit more corrupted than that, and it's a really interesting show. I think even if you don't really have any tokusatsu background, it's still a really fun watch.
Yeah, I feel like me just saying Power Rangers period is enough to get me in some hot water, so
No, that's fair. I don't know if you. I think it's the same writer as Quintessential Quintuplets. I don't know if you watched or read that, but
that's right.
That
the last thing Cain would have watched.
I was gonna say I don't know if that would help push the show at all, but it's definitely not your kind of tea from that end of it.
Yeah, no, that does not help at all.
Well, for anyone listening, maybe, but.
Yeah, let's hope that it helps them, because for me, I was like, oh, well, never mind then.
Yeah, they couldn't have anything to do like the same as each other, so
right.
I would recommend at least watching the first episode to like get the gist of what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly give it a shot. I've watched way more dog water like shit anime in 3-4 episodes than to turn my nose up at one of this that is a seemingly quality. So
that's true. You watched Birdie Wing.
I fucking did, didn't I? I didn't watch all of it.
Good on you. Yeah.
All right, so I guess it's my turn then?
Yeah.
All right, you fucking troglodytes.
Wait, why did you scoff at My Hero Academia?
Yeah.
Oh, I said there was no context. I just did it to throw you off.
Oh,
the only question I would have had regarding that is, I think you said it's pretty close, because I know the manga ended recently, so I didn't know how close it really was since I haven't watched it.
One more season, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did a pretty good job keeping caught up. It's not, light years behind or anything like that.
No. Yeah, it's right on the tails. Whew. That's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep. So get ready to get cultured. So number 10, I have Spice and Wolf. So I like this show a lot just from like the business simulator aspects of it. I mean, the relationship between Hollow and Cheesy Larry is pretty fantastic, and I like the back and forth they have and how they mutually help and hinder each other in certain ways. It's a really well written relationship between them. And all in all, I didn't think the show looked that bad. It didn't look amazing, but especially compared to that first go round, after looking at some of their screenshots, this thing looked mint in comparison. But I was more into it from the well-written dialogue and characters and the economics involved. I'm always a sucker for that kind of thing. Like, I may be the only person on the planet who still likes like Classroom Crisis because it's nothing but an Excel spreadsheet simulator in an anime. But that stuff always attracts me. And then number 9, this is the one I actually changed very recently. I had to get Kestrel's express written consent. But I put The Concierge. So, Kestrel, I know you watched this. Brand, are you familiar with it? It's a really late entry to 2024, period. Not just my list, but like straight up.
No, I did not. Oh, I I saw like maybe the trailer for this, but I did not realize it came out.
Yeah, so it had a showing at Animation is Art, I think probably years ago, because it wasn't there this year when we visited you, I don't
Correct.
think, Kestrel.
Yeah.
And then it had a 1-day theater release in the United States back in September, and then it just kind of like shadow dropped on Crunchyroll, I think December like 13th or 14th. So right in the middle of the holiday season with no marketing. It just showed up. So I didn't even know it was a thing until 2025. So technically I didn't even watch it until the new year, but it had been something I was interested in. I think it's production IG, and it looks really great. It has some varying art styles, which I like. The big department store, depending on the area that you're in, like if you're in the restaurant, everyone's drawn like that weird Art Deco restaurant style where people have like long flowing limbs with sharp angles on all of their like joints and stuff. And then, there's highly detailed animals and a really good selection of animals too. That's actually what surprised me the most, is that all the animals that you talk to isn't just like, oh, it's cat-san and dog-sama. It's like fucking obscure extinct animals by the dozens almost. So it's a really good time. It's only, I think, 80 minutes long, so you don't have to really, hunker down. And it's the pacing is a little bit weird at first because it's about her first day as a concierge in this thing. So you're just as discombobulated as she is. So I don't know if that's by design, but you kind of feel that way too. But yeah, it was a really fun show. Like there's not a show, but I guess it'd be an OVA. I don't know if it counts as a movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was at theaters.
I never know what that if that line is just if it made it to a movie theater, it's now a movie. But
it will count that.
Yeah. It premiered in a theater. It's a movie.
Okay, cool. So it's a movie. But yeah, would highly recommend it. It's just on Crunchyroll. It's got some really nice production value. The voice acting is good. The story, albeit basic, is engaging, and it's kind of like a series. It almost feels like a series of small vignettes, in that each animal that talks to the concierge has their own individual problem, and then like 10 to 15 minutes are dedicated to solving that problem as she learns about being a concierge and customer service and kind of what that means to her. So really good stuff. Would highly recommend it. Next, I had a surprise show. This is probably the most surprising to make the list, but I had Negative Positive Angler as my number 8. So this was the fishing show that was just on last season, and I know I was skeptical after the first episode because of the weird, like, sort of suicide joke kind of that just didn't hit, but it really, like, grew on me. It's definitely one of those, the sport doesn't particularly matter. So for people who are not into like sports shows because of sports, this is another one where it's like fishing is more of the backdrop for social events and character development. And granted, there is some terminology and fishing obviously does happen. It's not like the point of the show or the goal. It has a fun like cast of characters. They all have their own like distinct personalities, and they're designed well enough that they're all very separate. I know I complain relatively frequently about some anime having, palette swap problems with character design, and this definitely isn't it. Like everyone is like different heights, different face structures, hair colors. One girl changes what her body looks like depending on what she's doing. She's chibi in some ways, and then she's a model in others, and that's kind of a fun thing. But yeah, that's a really good one, and surprisingly kind of deep in the emotional state about like running away from your problems, dealing with them head on, familial drama sometimes. So that's really good too. Number 7, I have Kaiju number 8. Don't have much to say about it other than I enjoyed it from an action standpoint. And the only thing I wish would have stuck around a little longer in the show was the sort of janitor part of the storyline.
Yeah.
I liked watching him clean up stuff and kind of get ingratiated in that background, but I think the show only had him do that for like an episode or two before it just put right into the main goal, which was getting to that like training thing. But yeah, has some really solid action, well animated. I laughed at a couple of the jokes. So that's also a plus. And then lastly, on my number 6, I have Delicious in Dungeon. So I think this probably made it on several people's lists. It was one of the more hyped shows. Really liked a lot of the dungeon crawling aspects. All the dynamics between the party are really good, especially when they really start delving deep and get creative with how they're cooking food when they run out of it, and seeing Senshi work his magic to make even the grossest shit go. So that was something that I think that was another show that grew on me more as I watched it, and it had definitely positives where it picked up the drama just, I don't want to say right on time because it felt a little late, but it was on the cusp of, are we actually accomplishing anything? And then they finally introduced a little more of the serious drama and the whole like rescuing the sister and all of that. So yeah, overall super enjoyed that too, so can't wait for more of that to come out. But that's my 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Dungeon Meshi, Delicious Dungeon, probably Kate's number 1, given that it is the only thing off the top of my head I can remember that she watched in the past year.
Yeah, that's pretty. There had to be another one. No, well, I don't know.
She definitely watched others, but I feel like she was the most excited about that.
Oh yeah, she talked about the manga pretty frequently and how much she liked it too, and she liked the adaptation, which I guess goes to show the quality of it. That someone who really liked the manga was also smitten with the animated adaptation.
Yep.
I was gonna make a little jab at you for putting Kaiju number 8 at number 7, but I put My Hero Season 7 at number 8, so we're in the same boat.
Yeah, so suck eggs, Bran.
But further to your point for Kaiju number 8, I thought about putting it somewhere near the top of my list, but I one of my biggest gripes as well is that they kind of drop his whole like cleaner knowledge part of the show, because I feel like they could have really made something unique out of him always being like a schlub, or like, you know, like not really prepared the way some of these super soldier guys are, but like having that in-depth knowledge from just like cleaning that shit up every day. It really, they really do throw it out the window so fast once he becomes a kaiju.
Yeah, once he becomes the kaiju and gets more ingratiated with the team, it turns from a guy who makes up for his lack of physical prowess with straight up book knowledge to just a guy who tries really hard all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does become a much more like cookie cutter action show like very quickly. And I think part of that is because the manga just kind of like exploded in popularity, and it kind of stuck to that formula, like, and it has stuck to that formula the whole time. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the series as a whole. I think the anime looks amazing. It was like a really great production. So like,
oh yeah, 100%.
I'm happy with it. It's just not the where I wanted the story to go from the jump. So
yeah, and I think during the one training battle, they use his knowledge because it's like the mushroom creatures or whatever, and he remembers how to actually kill them or remove the poison or something, while the others don't. And that was a really cool moment because it's one of those overcoming adversity with the tools you have available. And then they throw that out, and then it's just I'm strong, will punch.
Yeah, I gotta protect my friends.
Yeah, all right. So before I do my 10 through 6, I will real quickly mention my most honorable of honorable mentions, which is Frieren. Of course, the latter half of Frieren was better than anything on my list, but I can't break my rule. I've always only included things that started the year in question, so I can't just put it at number 1 again for the second year in a row. But yes, that core was certainly better than anything I'm going to talk about.
If you go by
I left it off the list
rules, if you go by Crunchyroll award rules, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. I think I texted you about that too, Kestrel. I was like, so I can't put this on the list, right?
No, you like. So I usually let you guys do that. And you were like, well, I didn't have to this time because I had enough to fill out a top 10. But you did have Apothecary Diaries on there, which aired the exact same 2 seasons as Frieren. So I was like, okay, you gotta pick a lane. Neither of them can be on there, or both of them can.
I honestly forgot that it had also aired the year. I knew Freerun did,
Yeah.
but for some reason, I had a disconnect with Apothecary Diaries and thought it all aired in 2024. So
Right.
that was just an honest mistake.
Yeah,
Freerun,
yeah.
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 At least Apothecary Diaries will have that clean. It's a 2025 show this time.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so my number 10 is Monogatari series Off and Monster Season. I didn't really think I needed any more Monogatari after like 2017. Story was pretty much over. 2018, it had a little epilogue. Cool, that's all we ever really needed. But it's really fucking fun, and it was a blast to have it back after like 6-7 years. And the music, I mean, I talked about Satoru Kosaki in our composer episode a little bit, and just the way that he uses all of the like motifs from the theme songs that he also composed for all of the characters in creative new ways along the way is just phenomenal. And that series has gotten better and better production values on average since it started in 2009. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to have that back and have some time where it was just about the girls having their own lives and solving their own problems instead of Koyomi coming in for everything. That was the off part. The monster season was kind of back with him in the spotlight. But yeah, good stuff. Especially for, basically just Nisio Isin is continuing to write this because it makes too much money, even though he already completed the story. None of us actually have a good number alignment because I have Kaiju number 8 at number 9, in fact.
Oh, man, we fucking blew it.
I mean, we averaged to number 8.
Fair.
By design.
Yeah, just as planned. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said. Kaiju number 8, really fun new shonen action series, really great production values. I said this when it started, like, even without having read any of the manga, I didn't think for a fucking second that the big new hit shonen show was going to stay with Kaiju Janitor for the whole thing. So I was not at all surprised that they threw that away. Yeah. I will give it some credit for acknowledging that as it goes along and using some of his expertise from that job. But I agree that once he just becomes Kaiju, it's like, okay, this plot has been done over and over again. Oh, what a surprise. The main character can become the thing they're all fighting. And yeah, it kind of goes through the same motions. So once that happened, yeah, a little generic, but I do appreciate that the protagonist is not a shonen. He is a 32-year-old, which is expressed explicitly as meaning he is an old man, which personally hurt me, who was and is still 32, and Cain, who was at the time 32.
Yeah, man, that oof.
So yeah, but I appreciate at least the variety of this is kind of an old washed up dude having his last shot at his dream, and he's got to put in way more effort than everyone else, except maybe not so much once he becomes the Kaiju anyway. I have at number 8 Hibike Euphonium 3. I kind of have maybe the opposite opinion of Bran. None of the previous seasons would have gotten on my list at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think this one was by far the most effective to me. In fact, the first season, when it premiered, I dropped it after 3 episodes. And it was only after, I know. Believe me, I have friends who are huge fucking UFO fans, and they are very upset by that fact. So I only ended up going back and watching it all after like the KyoAni fire, when I had, taken a lot of time to watch a bunch of their stuff that I had missed. And I was like, oh yeah, it's really good. But yeah, this final season, because yeah, this was the final season. It very clearly has an ending to the overall story. Very satisfying, very emotional, beautiful production values, like you mentioned, KyoAni all the time. And this is kind of like maybe the last we'll see of like the triumphant comeback, because you'll notice the first episode is credited to one of the most prominent victims of the arson as the episode director. So they had been working on this for, half a decade before it aired. And then, in general, the whole season, directed by Tatsuya Ishihara, who's one of my favorite directors, just incredible direction, incredible animation, so emotional, such good, nuanced character moments. And they do, in one of the final scenes in the final episode, when they have big climactic performance in the audience, they have a bunch of the KyoAni staff who were killed represented in the crowd there. So very, very sweet send-off, very triumphant kind of full circle conclusion to that story in a lot of ways. So that was very effective for me. Speaking of highly emotional, at number 7 I have Look Back. It's one of those things that if I do my top anime of the year and then my top movies of the year, you might see the same things in different orders, and I think it's because I think about things, in regard to being successful feature films in different ways than I think about them being what I want to watch for an anime. So this as a standalone, go to a theater, experience a complete story in one sitting, phenomenal, top notch. It gets a little bit further behind on my anime list for the year, just because it's in terms of kind of experiencing that art form, I think it was incredibly impressive, but it's not something that I want to just pop on Crunchyroll, every month or so. It was a very specific time and place, experience this in movie theater, see people shocked by the developments, and just kind of go away and think about what you just experienced, process it. So great story. Of course, the manga was already great to work off of. My boy Kiyotaka Oshiyama, who did nearly everything for this film. It's one of the most incredible showcases of a single creator of the past year. And I'm glad I got to interview him well before I saw the movie. And then when I did, I was like, yeah, man, he really pulled it off for such a small crew, for him to have done so much to elevate it beyond, being a manga about manga. How do you justify making that a different medium? And he really went above and beyond with that. So, great work there. And my number 6 is Oshinoko's second season. I didn't love it quite as much as the first season, especially some of the early episodes. Once it kind of got rolling in the big climactic character studies and commentary on the industry, which are two of its strongest attributes, then it definitely hit those top tier episodes. So I definitely came around to it being a worthy second season, even if it wasn't quite as effective to me as the first one. I'm curious to see how it goes, because I know the manga also ended last year, and people hate it, I think. So I'm a little concerned about how it ends, but so far so good, more or less. I'm enjoying myself.
I wanted to put it somewhere near the top of my list as well, between 8 to 10, but I felt like I couldn't justify it because I didn't finish the second season. So I similarly, I enjoyed it, but it didn't hit the same heights as that first season. So I'll eventually finish it, but I think part of why I just kind of fell behind and dropped off on it was just hearing how badly everyone was reacting to the end of the manga. So
Hooray.
Not looking forward to that.
Maybe they'll salvage it like Attack on Titan.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I had one more quick comment about Kaiju number 8. One thing I did like about the show too that I neglected to mention on my list is spoilers, I guess, is how quickly he gets found out. Yeah. I honestly expected they were going to be this is something that's going to go for fucking 24 episodes, and they're only going to find out in the last 2 episodes when they need him most. and no one's gonna have a chance to like digest any of this. It's just gonna be like, oh, you're a kaiju, please save us, and then at the end they'll be like, thank goodness you were a kaiju. But he got found out real quickly, and that caught me by surprise in a good way. Like I wasn't expecting that turn to happen that early in the storyline. So that was a good plot piece to kind of keep me hooked when it was starting to feel extra generic.
Yeah, for sure.
I think because of our rankings, we have to now refer to it as kaiju number 7 + 9 divided by 2.
Yeah. I feel like that's a new Ava movie or something.
Yeah, when they do rebuild of kaiju number 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he does stay a janitor.
Yeah, right. Anno's remaking all the kaiju stuff, so you never know.
Fair. Yeah.
And Kara did the opening, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Checks out. It's all connected. All right. I'll read off a few of my friends' lists that we got here. So from Soul Mephiст at number 5, Look Back. At number 4, Urusei Yatsura 2022 second season. Number 3, Monogatari series Off and Monster season. Number 2, Dandadan. Number 1, One Piece fan letter. From Sync. Number 5, Haikyuu, The Dumpster Battle. Number 4, Bokuyaba or Dangerous My Heart, second season. Number 3, Monogatari series Off and Monster season. Number 2, Oshinoko, second season. Number 1, Cain, Too Many Losing Heroines. My favorite thing about that is that the official like Japanese abbreviation Cain for like Make Heroine is written in katakana exactly the same as McCain, as in John McCain. So anytime you do an automatic translation anywhere on the internet, it's like people being like, oh, I love this episode of McCain. Yep. And then I'll do one more here from Epica. Number 5, Nina the Starry Bride. Number 4, I should probably do the English names here. Cherry Magic, 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard? Question mark, exclamation point. Number 3, ReZero, third season. Number 2, Seventh Time Loop. And number 1, she went back and forth as well, but eventually settled on, I'm going to include Apothecary Diaries this year. So that made her number 1.
How dare you?
I said it was fine. I've let you enough times in the past.
Yeah, well, now I follow the rules. I don't want anyone else to.
Exactly.
We're bending all kinds of rules because it's like, I understand putting One Piece fan letter on there because it was amazing.
It's like new. It's a separate thing. Yeah. It counts.
It's fine. Counts. It is its own little thing. It's fine.
You'll have to fight me on that as we go along.
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna fight you on it. I think it's great to put it there.
Yeah. Unless anyone has any further comments on my friends having shit taste, we can move on to Cain's number 5.
I'm good. I'll save comments for probably shitting on One Piece or something later. But all right, so my number 5. So I double checked the listings on this, and I think it is technically 2 seasons, which I know we have differentiated between the two, but I just combined them for the sake of doing it. But Tonbo, the golf anime, man, I love that anime. It looks like hell. For one thing, like, it does not look good. I will not say that it's well animated or particularly well drawn, but what I do really love about it is it maintains a realism for the sport while keeping the competition part of it interesting and engaging, and you get to see basically a Tiger Woods-esque person not only learn how to make her golf game better, but also grow and want to kind of leave the island that they grow up on and meet new people and, compete against them and, learn a bunch of interesting things. And I guess it was just nice to watch an anime about a sport that I'm particularly, fond of and play, with the idea that this thing is going to be faithfully recreated. Like, Tonbo does some crazy shots in things, but you can go on YouTube and look at PGA Tour highlights, the Professional Golfers Tour, and every shot she does, they have done on numerous occasions. So it is not out of this world or superhuman like some of that other atrocious golf show that came out.
That might have been mentioned earlier.
No, not that one. This is
a different atrocious golf show.
It was on Netflix. It's about like a boy who learns how to play golf, and the one like viral clip was he jumps backward into a bunker and hits the ball out of the side of the hill. And I'm like, if you tried that in real life, you would just hit the ball straight up in the air and then hit yourself in the face. But yeah, overall, it was really enjoyable. The characters, albeit not incredibly like deep outside of the main, two. Tonbo and then her former professional golfer and mentor / father figure, Igaiga, they work well enough as a supporting cast for Tonbo to like grow around them and learn how to sort of let go of the island that she lives on and experience life anew, even if they can't or couldn't. So one of those like, you're the future, please get out of here. You can always come back, but don't be stuck here kind of like we are. Like, you have talent and potential. Please leave and spread your wings. So, yeah, it was really enjoyable. It was something that I could turn on and kind of relax to, because even when the competition was like in full swing and serious, it still had sort of a light weight about it. Like, I think that's also what's nice, is that it treated the competition seriously, but also didn't fall into some of the traps that sports anime do, where it's like, this is life and death for me right now. Like, some of the characters treat it like that, but they're more anomalies. And Tonbo, actually gets criticized later in the show because she doesn't take it seriously and accept the pressure and everything, which is not something you see very often in sports anime. Most of the time, the protagonists always treat whatever they're doing as if there's a gun to the back of their head if they fuck up, like at all times. So that was also refreshing. But yeah, I think it's really just the realistic depiction of golf and how to do the shots and sort of all the math that goes into playing the game and figuring out, your angles, how to deal with wind and different turfs and playing surfaces and all those things. It's really a love letter to people who like golf as a sport. I think it's even so far that the original manga doesn't actually appear in a manga magazine. It is in the back of a monthly golf magazine.
Wow.
I think I remember reading that. So I was surprised we even got a second season. I don't know if that was originally slated to happen, but this is a labor of love. The director, I think, said I know this is not going to be very successful, but it's something I've always wanted to do. And I know a lot of people who like golf will watch this, because the manga's been going on for fucking ever in this golf magazine. I think it's like years and years and years. Like, I think the main character is a full-ass adult now. So, yeah. Anybody who likes golf out there for whatever reason and wants something that's more grounded in reality and things, so yeah, not your birdie wings and things like that. This is not only is this the best choice, I'm pretty sure it's your only one. So
this sounds pretty fun. I feel like I would enjoy something like this.
Yeah,
kind of tangential to this. Did you ever watch Baby Steps?
No, but I know what it is. I know it's a tennis anime that's very similar to how I described Tonbo, so it's not like your Prince of Tennis and things.
Yeah, I feel like you'd enjoy that just based off of what you said about Tombo, because it's a very similarly like down to earth, just like this kid's like trying to learn, and it's like fun just like watching him try to learn and not feel like the weight of the world is on him learning how to like be the best at tennis.
Yeah, I've consistently thought about picking it up as I grow sort of more separated from Prince of Tennis, because I dropped the newest one. It's too much even for me, and I've talked about it before, so I won't do it here, but I had been recommended Baby Steps before for that exact same reason. Like, very grounded, he sucks.
Yeah.
So you
Very
get to watch
similarly,
him.
it does not look great. So like, it's not the best production, but like, it's a solid show.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a mark of the quality of the show when I'm still getting recommended, it by friends like you or my one anime friend in real life when it looks bad, but it still gets recommended because that's just the strength of the story itself. That's how I see it at the very least. Like if it looked bad and was not very good, period, why would you recommend it? But something can look bad and still have like a good story with characters and action, or at least like action in the form of the plot, not well animated because also it's golf. But yeah. Give it a shot sometime. It's on Amazon Prime, which also kind of sucks.
Mm.
Yeah, and they didn't advertise at all. They just dropped the show. They're like, yeah, we got that now. So I think it went under the radar, especially for that. Like, Amazon put no effort into showing this to you. I had to even type it in a very specific way to get it to show up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Kind of had everything working against it.
Basically, yeah.
All right. My number 5 is Don to Don. This is not the last we'll be hearing about the series. But yeah, I finally love a Science Saru thing.
Hey.
Yeah, so finally come around to that. The music I knew I would love because Kensuke Yoshio, but I've described before how it's kind of the perfect project for him because it has the insane whiplash between different tones that he works so well in, and usually you only get to experience one extreme or the other from any given property he works on, but this time he gets to shine in both ways. In particular, episode 7 was phenomenal, incredibly emotional, just an example of like this is the kind of episode that will get an episode director a job directing a big series in a year or two. Like that kind of showcase of this is what I can do within these constraints, to basically give you a standalone, very short film that will move you so much more than you expected in this weird show about fighting demons and aliens over a guy's testicles. So yeah, it is a crazy, bonkers, all over the place show. It's a ton of fun. It's very funny. It uses its tonal whiplash very successfully. It's good at being funny and having genuine heart in its romance and its drama and actually caring about the relationship. Having great action when it wants to do that. Being emotional, as I mentioned. It's got insanely good animation, especially at those big moments. Very strong direction overall. I feel like the series director is like a pretty good kind of Yuasa protege. Because he really kind of nails the Science Saru style without being Yuasa. And yeah, it's a really charming kind of different shonen action show that follows, wouldn't you fucking know it, the male protagonist becomes the whatever. But yeah, it also has a lot of things that are very unique to Don and nothing else. It's kind of like, Mob Psycho at times, Look Back at times, just a big amalgamation of different themes and styles, and it pulls it all off pretty well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. This will be talked about a little bit later too, at least a little more. So I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can't follow it up because like I'm about to follow it up.
Right. Exactly. So before that, let me know what your number 5 and my number 4 is.
Yes. So at my 5 and Kestrel's 4, we have the Haikyuu movie. What is it called? Battle of the Dumpster?
Yeah, the Dumpster Battle is the official English title.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, one of the worst titles, if it weren't for a show called Toilet Bound Hanako-kun airing right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I don't have a lot to say about this other than like I love Haikyuu, and this movie is basically just like 2 episodes of Haikyuu.
Yeah.
It's just like it. When I remember when it was originally announced that like they're going to end the series on like 2 movies. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy about it, but I feel like for the pace of the match, this like movie format kind of worked perfectly for it. And I think it was just really nice to like get it all at once. As much as I love having it drip fed over the season, getting to like watch it all in one go as if you're there watching the match and experiencing the match, I think ended up working out for the better. So yeah, I think it is a plus and minus that it just feels like more Haikyuu, because despite it being a feature film, it still just feels like TV animation budgeted film. So like it doesn't look that much. It's maybe marginally better than maybe like what a seasonal episode would look like. So yeah, it's nicely tucked in at number 5 for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. And this is kind of the bookend to my comment with Look Back, where I put this much lower on my list of top films of the year than Look Back, because it is absolutely a Haikyuu season 5 in a movie theater. So as a feature film, it does not really function. But as the next installment of an anime series that I love very dearly, it's great. It's everything I wanted it to be. And it was not enough material for a full season, so sure, throw it in a theater, why not? I agree, it does not look substantially better than the TV series ever looked, but the TV series always had very high production quality. And yeah, great animation, great music, great character moments, good pacing of cutting between the gameplay and character flashbacks and internal thoughts and all that. All your normal Haikyuu stuff, everything you expect. It's a good time. I'll say near the end, there's some really good point of view shots that are really well executed. So I appreciated that a lot for its creativity. I think there's a lot of questions about the idea of wrapping the series up in one more movie, because there's 100 chapters left, so it would be impossible. So there have been some kind of conflicting reports of maybe they'll make 2 more, or maybe they'll cut out the final arc, or what. But yeah, there's no real confirmation on what's happening after this yet, except we know there's at least one more feature film. But yeah, Haikyuu season 5, except it's a movie, is my number 4.
Yeah, I also just wanted to chime in that the Kenma POV near the end is definitely one of the coolest shots of last year. Very, very well done, and just puts you right in the heart of it, and you're there just feeling the panic of being in a volleyball game. I will say one of the other things that really did add to the experience for me was seeing it in theaters, because especially for a sports movie, I feel like the way people are gonna interact with it feels a little different, where there was a guy sitting next to me who, he wasn't by any means rude or being too loud, but almost every other play I would hear him with bated breath, or under his breath be yes, or let's go, or a little no. He was there just watching the game. It was I loved that he was doing that. It made me enjoy the game more, that he felt so invested in each play that was happening.
I guess that's another thing where I'll associate Look Back more in the film watching experience than this, because this one, shout out to Sony Crunchyroll, because they've invited me to a bunch of early screenings of their movies this year for press only, pretty much, and those were all at the Sony Pictures Animation campus in their screening room. So that was all super cool. It does mean that, I don't know, everyone there was kind of professional and well-behaved. So it was a pretty quiet crowd. And then conversely, for Look Back, getting to be in those theaters. Now, my friend saw it at AX. They had one spot open in the room that he got to go in. And I was like, no, you've been waiting longer than me. Go ahead. So I did not see it there. But what he said about that experience was the same thing I experienced when I first saw it in theaters, where Oshiyama did also attend and have a Q&A afterwards. And then I saw it again in theaters where they were giving out some artboards from Oshiyama and Fujimoto. So, those two crowds were like, the real motherfuckers, right? Those are the guys who are going to show up to the important showings. So seeing the mix of people just like where I was at, knowing the manga ahead of time and just being blown away at what Oshiyama did to it. And then the other half of people gasping at all the things that, you're taken aback by. And then all the Fujimoto fans being like, "Hey!" when it has a little Fujimoto reference in there. So that definitely enhanced it in my film watching experience. Whereas Haikyuu, I have to think back and be like, "Oh yeah, I saw it in the Sony theater. I didn't watch that on Crunchyroll." Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we are into our number 4s now. Cain, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is all around good time, Mashal.
Hey, I love that pick. Nice.
Yeah. Mashal was a show that I wasn't expecting to enjoy nearly as much as I did, but I think it's basically purely because of the psychotic energy that MASH has the whole time. And I was always impressed by how they could keep that joke going. And I would laugh almost every time, whether he's just throwing a broom fast enough to make it look like he's flying, or turning an iron rod into a tennis racket somehow. Or I think I remember when I first knew I loved the show, and same with my brother, was when he gets threatened by like the dean of students or something and just digs a huge hole and buries him in it, and then he just goes like, "I'll bury you too," when he talks to somebody else, like threatens their death. And I was like, this guy knows what's up. Like, MASH is going to completely abuse any power he has in the most ridiculous way possible, and the show just kept delivering on it no matter what the test was. And I did think I was going to get tired of it. Eventually, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of like One Punch, where the whole gag is he can do everything in one punch. But I think what really helps Mashal out is he's strong, but also like so incredibly blunt and straight to the point that he's just like, why not make tennis racket to hit energy ball? Or I think he, like the main bad guy, the puppet student, the one who like had the 3 marks and everything, he's supposed to be a big bad. All that MASH could do is just talk about how creepy it was that he had a puppet that he carried around all the time. Like, there was absolutely no threat that MASH felt deserved any type of like concern. He just let himself get the shit beat out of him for a little, even though it didn't do anything, until he decided how he was going to embarrass you. And that was it.
His shit talking was one of his strongest muscles, for sure.
Yeah, the shit talking is insane, and it's always delivered in the same like droning tone, which makes it even more insulting. One of my other favorite gags was the breakdancing fast enough to make a balloon float like it was a hot air balloon. Like, it's just so good. Like, the creativity from the creators, like the mangaka, and of course the animators as well, to make sure that they're keeping the gags outrageous enough that you keep coming back for more, and not just he yawns and, punches or kicks something. It's always, you just don't expect what he's going to do next. And that's really what carries that show, and his shit talking. I think the cast, like the supporting cast, is also really fun in their own ways. Like Siscon Man.
Yeah, Lance.
Yeah, Lance. Because Lance is like a prodigy, but his main thing that's holding him back from success is how put off everybody is by his obsession with his sister. Like, it's so good. And I also appreciate that the show gives you just enough like background lore so you know what's going on in the plot, but it really doesn't try to get too bogged down. It's just like if you had a mark, you had magic. If you didn't, you were ostracized. And the more marks you had, the more powerful and prestigious you were. And yeah, have fun with this. And that's it. It doesn't try to like delve into too much about how the marks happened or, you know, the economics of the world, depending on what, like, it didn't do any of that stuff, which I like lore, but in this specific situation, it was, I don't think it was ever going to do the show any favors. You're watching MASH topple the 1% like the whole time.
Damn.
And its banger of a theme also is something that you can't ignore either. I know
it's quite a banner year for Creepy Nuts.
It really was. Like between the Mashal and Don to Don openings, you have two like just fucking great songs, period, that are all over social media constantly. So
yeah, that Mashal theme like transcended anime. Like I had people that I know do not watch Mashal were like, oh yeah, that song, or like they watched Don to Don and like, oh, they made that other one. I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm really glad you put Mashal on your list because I feel like this series is special to me in that I reviewed most of the manga for the post like during its run, and while it was never my favorite show or manga, it was always like, you know, middle of the road for me. I did always appreciate that like it was able to pull off what it did. And like you said, the author Komoto, he was able to make MASH a character that didn't like, you know, become a dud of a joke 30 chapters in. Like he was able to the end, make MASH like a funny and interesting and like a character that is going to surprise you with his one gimmick. And if this was a top 10 characters of 2024, MASH is easily top 3. So he should end up on a list like that at the very least. So I'm glad you enjoyed this show so much.
Yeah, it's funny because MASH himself doesn't do much at all. Yet he's he beats people up and he eats cream puffs and then he just goes like, "Yay!" Like that. It's so much with so little. I think what this reminded me of the most, and it's another show I really enjoyed when it aired and my brother and I watched together, was Sleepy Princess and Demon Castle. Because that was a whole show based on one gimmick of this princess that the demons kidnapped is actually a worse being than any of them in a lot of ways. So it was just watching her walk around this castle, do things to make her bedroom more comfortable, and a lot of the time it just had to do with mercilessly killing demons for like their skin and stuff. And that was another one. Like I thought the joke would get old and it just didn't. So I always like, you know, a good comedy show that kind of knows what it is, and I think Mashal excels in that it knows what you want and it delivers it, you know, time and time again. So I would always recommend this to someone who's like, what's a show that has some decent action but is also like lighthearted enough to be funny and I don't have to be worried about my emotional state while watching it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like Mashal is a great show to recommend someone that like you don't want to like throw them into the depths of like, oh, this is going to be the deepest anime you've ever watched, or like, you know, if you know their tastes, like it probably something will align to enjoy Mashal in a sense.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, for better or worse, depending on how you feel about it, there's like very little like fan servicey anime like stuff that turns people off. So this is another show like we've talked about on several occasions, like your Spy Family and stuff like that, that you could show someone who doesn't really watch a lot of anime or is just kind of interested. You don't have to worry about them getting creeped out by any one thing in particular. Like it's also very controlled in that aspect. So that's another plus for me. Like I can handle that obviously, but people, everyone has a little bit of a different opinion for that. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I hope we get some more. I haven't looked into if they're making more of it or not. I did read all of the manga afterwards. So
nice.
I think they did confirm at some point that they will be adapting all of the manga.
Oh hell yeah.
Love that. this one deserves to go all the way because I feel like it is one of those few shows that I think pulled off the ending. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
All right, and that leaves your number 4, which is also Cain's number 3.
Yes. As we said, hot off the heels of Kestrel's pick, we are putting Dan to Dan here in our lists. So we talked about a lot already too on the seasonal episodes, but when I was reading Dan to Dan, like I hopped on it pretty early, maybe only 10, 20 chapters into it coming out, and right away I told myself, there's no way this show gets an adaptation that like is anywhere going to live up to it. And I held that sentiment for a very long time. And then I saw the trailer for Dan to Dan. I was like, okay, all right, Science Saru, okay, we'll see. And then it comes out, and you know what? They damn pulled it off because this is a very excellently made show, and I didn't think it was going to be possible. So, like, that's aside from what's already been said, the highest praise I can give it is that I didn't think they could do it, and then they did it. So, yeah, this is just a fun ride all the way through. Yeah, the amazing music, the animation, like you mentioned earlier, Kestrel, the jump between the comedic and the action and the suspense is all very well done. And honestly, the only reason for me it's not even higher on the list is that like there just wasn't enough of it. I feel like the show ended at a kind of like an abrupt part at the start of a new arc. Like
that was weird.
Like, they're teasing the start of a new arc, which is like in itself gonna be like half of a season long, I think. So it's unfortunate that they didn't just do like a 2-core or even just like a 16 to 18 episode season just to like round out that arc. But it's an amazing show, and I'm glad they at least already have it blocked out for I think the summer for the next season. So looking forward to more of it. This is an amazing show. I mean, if you're an action shonen head, this is where it's at currently. So
yeah, I went into it with very little expectation. I think I watched the first 3 episodes in theaters with my one friend who just asked me on a whim, hey, do you want to check this show out? It's gonna be in the theaters. I want to support the studio as best I can, so I'm willing to pay for your ticket too, which obviously I'm gonna go then. So we went, and I know I had some reservations in the beginning because it has like that one scene that is not particularly comfortable. I don't think like well made in my like opinion, but obviously that's just the opinion of one person. But everything after that has been phenomenal. The tonal whiplash is handled so well when you go from emotional moments, especially with the budding friendship of the 2 main characters, to like a comedic moment, and then all of a sudden action out of nowhere, like when they fight the what is it, the bogwood monster or whatever, I can't remember, the giant sumo wrestler in the beginning. The flatbush monster, I think it's called. But you have so many different little scenarios that they go through in that fight alone that it really kind of keeps you on your toes in a way that feels surprisingly organic. And comedy and anime in particular can be so hard to pull off that way, when it's just like a lot of the time it just turns into, now we're going to be talking very loudly and now this is comedy because now I'm just going to scream a line. But it's handled so well while keeping a great dynamic between the two of them that only kind of continues as we introduce more and more kind of, members of this gang, whether it's Turbo Granny Cat or the new guy. And obviously I'm terrible with names, so Gigi. Yeah, Gigi near the end, and kind of the whole, well, now we're competing for, the attention of our romantic interest. So that has its own little comedic moments because it's always stupid. But Yeah, it's a show that Emily and I both watched together, and she really liked it a lot and was always, waiting with bated breath for the next episode, though was understandably upset with the way that the season ended. Obviously, I think most people were.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
try not to hold that against them.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
I was just going to say, so I did review this show, and yeah, I gave the finale slightly lower marks because of that. But kind of my main thing was, okay, I get it. If you've gotta stick to 12 episodes at a time, then I would much rather you kind of make it a more natural pacing for everyone who's going to watch it in the future instead of those of us who are watching it right now, because in a year it'll just be you go from 12 to 13, and who knew that there was a season break in between that. So I'd rather us have to wait a few months between those few episodes than them have compromised the pacing by being like, okay, well, we've got to have like a real season ending here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't have been happy seeing like a go read the manga type last episode.
Right, yeah. So it ended as we expected with the announcement of the next season, with a date and everything. So I'm like, okay, it would have been nice for you to, like, I don't know, acknowledge this as a season ending in some way, because anyone just watching that without any other knowledge would have no idea that there wasn't an episode next week, let alone for, 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So that could have been handled a little bit better, but I think for the sake of, making the best product possible for the long run of you're just going to binge through multiple seasons, yeah, it'll all turn out for the best.
Yeah. And it's also nice that we are getting to the point where Netflix is understanding like the weekly model is kind of like what people want for anime usually for the most part. So
yeah.
I'm glad streaming it was a-okay.
And I mean, this one was streamed everywhere. It was Crunchyroll, Hulu, Netflix, etc. Yeah,
That's
so that
true.
was cool.
It was.
Yep.
Yeah, this didn't get the JoJo treatment.
No.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I mean, the JoJo treatment still isn't as bad as the series that Netflix has gotten that actually aired on TV weekly and then chose to release all in one batch like 6 months later. That's still worse. At least JoJo, that's how it was released. That was the only way to see it.
Yeah.
So everyone was on the same page. It just meant that you didn't get that week-to-week conversation that you got in previous seasons. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned prior, back-to-back Creepy Nuts banger nominees. So let's see what they're
really
cooking
talk
up
about
for,
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see what they're cooking up for 2025. Because I assume they're going to be on at least 10 more animes after
Right,
what
exactly.
they've done.
Yeah, they pretty big there. All right, and Brandon, what about your number 3?
My number 3 is Dungeon Meshi. Yeah, this show was one I expected to enjoy, but not as much as I did, and not exactly for the reasons that I did. Of course, I was looking forward to just like, the cooking show elements of what it was about, and like the dungeoneering, like salvaging the beasts for food. But I didn't expect myself to be as enthralled with the world building aspects and the inner workings of how the dungeon is laid out and why the dungeon is what it is and like their purpose in it. Those elements of it definitely surprised me for keeping me engaged. And I understand that like it wasn't as engaging for some people when they didn't really have a set motivation throughout half the show. And to be fair, they set that motivation right away in the first episode and then just kind of didn't think about saving his sister for 16 episodes. So, like, to be fair, they were not like focused, but it was one of those shows that I was just enjoying the ride as it happened, and I loved every little bit of it. All the food Sakuga was just like chef's kiss. I want to try making some of that stuff in our own real world way.
There is an official cookbook, I think.
Ooh, I got to
Is
get my
there?
hands on that.
Or maybe it was unofficial, and then I sent it to you, and you said you weren't interested, Kestrel, because it's not official.
I did specifically ask the mangaka if she ever considered making a cookbook for our world, and she's like,
Oh.
no.
Yeah, so
Fair.
then one exists.
Okay.
One definitely
Okay.
exists, but it's going to be unofficial. So
Yeah.
take that as you will.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me. I feel like this show has like a big and like a hardcore enough fandom that someone would have to pop one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I just want to say is that I feel like Trigger was a surprise pick when this was first announced, but I think they really nailed it and made it their own without it feeling like, oh yeah, this is definitely just a Trigger show, with like, it didn't have too many Triggerisms, I guess you could say, but they really did make it feel like their own, and you could see when like a certain staff member was like an episode director that was like, oh yeah, it's time for like a typical like Trigger animation change. But yeah, I really adored this show and I can't wait for more. So yeah.
Yeah, the Food Sakuga was really hard to top in that. I mean, I know we've had several shows in the past that have also done Food Sakuga, but there's just something special about it when it's not just a steak or whatever, it's made out of like a fucking lizard monster.
Yeah. Also just like I love the cast of characters. They're a really well balanced group. And as I mentioned earlier with MASH being in a top characters list, I feel like Laios would also be somewhere near the top for me because he's just like a freak, man.
Yeah,
I love him for that.
yeah, he is unabashedly himself. That is that is one undeniable fact there is that he doesn't really hide who he is from anybody as opposed to the little guy.
Yeah, Chill Chuck.
Yeah, Chill Chuck, who goes out of his way to make sure people don't know a single thing about his life.
Yeah. You're an adult? You have kids?
How old are you?
Yeah,
All
can't wait for more of that.
Yeah. And that leaves my number 3, which is Okuyaba Dangerous in My Heart Season 2. This is actually the first time I've talked about this show at all on the podcast, because when the first season came out in late 2023, or mid-2023, I think, I was not interested. I didn't give it a shot at all. And I'd heard some good things about it as it went on, and then the new season started at the beginning of 2024, and I was hearing really good things about it from the start, and just incredible things by the end. So once the winter season wrapped up, I was like, okay, I'll binge through this series on High Dive. I'll give it a shot. And indeed, it starts off a little rough in the first season, but the trajectory of its quality over the course of its 2 seasons is just like exponential in growth. It goes from being like kind of a cringy middle school kid to probably one of my like favorite adorable little anime romance series. And it's good at its pacing and making the romance progress in a way that's realistic and not frustrating, and in a way that that future seasons will have something new and different. So, and as it goes on, guess who did the soundtrack? Kensuke Ushio.
Of course.
So we get to see more of his lighter touch on that, some of his silent voice type compositions in there. Very fitting as well. I feel like the direction kind of borrowed a little bit from a silent voice at times, from Yamada's style a little bit. And as it went on, it got a little more comfortable in that and was able to pull it off better. So yeah, by the end of it, I was just like, these fucking kids are my favorite couple in the world, and I just want to see them be happy. So yeah, this was a nice, good surprise for a series that initially I had absolutely no interest in.
Interesting. Swing me the title of this again.
So the English title is The Dangers in My Heart.
Okay.
It's a little guy and a tall lady.
Yes.
Oh, this show. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think I nailed it.
Pretty much.
I mean, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, wish fulfillment a little bit, but they dig enough into the characters and their psyches and what works for them that the romance is earned. It sells itself over the course of the 2 seasons so far. So, yeah, I was definitely impressed by how it all turned out by the end.
Gotcha. This has become a bit of a... I feel like this has become a genre in itself, because what's that other one? Nagatoro? Kind of like a similar vibe going on?
I think, like, Takagi-san,
yeah.
I think this is actually the same studio and director as that, I want to say. So I expected it to be very similar to that. But while that one I do enjoy all the way through, it kind of keeps status quo a little bit too much. So, like, what you're getting from the beginning is more or less what you're getting for the 3 seasons plus movie so far. The movie takes some liberties in going a little bit further. But for the most part, it was like, yeah, okay, cool. Another season of Takagi. I know what to expect. It'll pull out a few cute little surprises for me, but it doesn't have the kind of, like, forward progression that I was really impressed by these 2 seasons showing. So this started a lot weaker and got way stronger, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I'll read off a few more lists from people. So my friend Andrew at number 5, McCain, McCain, if you will.
McCain.
John McCain, too many losing heroines, too many losing presidential candidates. Number 4, I want to see that now. I want to see a harem of unsuccessful presidential candidates. Although now I'm thinking about...
Don't make me make the thumbnail. Don't make me do it.
Being upset about our country. Okay, number 4.
Based and red-pilled.
Oh, God. Number 4, he's got Bokuyaba, Dangers in My Heart, 2nd season. Number 3, Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Number 2, Dawn to Dawn. Number 1, Look Back. Then Caitlin, my wife. Number 5, My Hero Academia, 7th season. Number 4, Look Back. Number 3, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Hashira Training Arc. Number 2, the Bocchi the Rock movies. And number 1, A Sign of Affection.
Worst list.
Well, we'll see if you get to stay at our house for a week in the future.
Yeah, you tell her I said that.
Don't worry, she's our biggest fan. She'll listen, and she'll send me a message very angrily directed at you.
Good.
Yep. All right, I'll read off a few more. We've got Henry. I'm just going to call you Henry. I'm not using your screen name. It sucks. So he's got at number 5, Demon Lord 2099. Number 4, Windbreaker. Number 3, Kaiju number 8. Number 2, Wistoria. And number 1, let me find the fucking English title for this. Apparently the English title is The Osan Newbie Adventurer. And then
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Yeah. I was definitely not on my radar. It appears to be some sort of isekai. I want to say isekai, maybe not, but might as well be isekai.
Oh man,
fantasy. I don't know. I didn't watch any of it. No, it looks like it's real fantasy. Just 30-year-old clerk offered once in a lifetime opportunity after he meets dark elf. Blah blah blah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
A list worth getting doxed over for sure.
Anyway, more old guys in their early 30s, starting their life in their old age.
I'm 30 years old.
Yep. And then I'll read one more. We got Cipriana, number 5. Natsume's Book of Friends, Natsume Eugene Chu, 7th season. Number 4, Haikyuu, The Dumpster Battle. Number 3, John McCain and his losing heroines. Number 2, Hibike Euphonium 3. And number one, Gimai Seikatsu. I believe that is, what is it, The Days with My Stepsister? Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
And we can start on our number twos now that we've doxed my friends.
We've got no more crossovers going all the way through. Okay.
At least not in easy to not in easy to overlap positions anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but go ahead.
All right. For my number two, similarly to Kestrel's last pick, I didn't really get to talk about it during any of the seasonal episodes, but that's because I didn't watch it until binging it last week. But I had previously read it when it was coming out in physical. But that pick would be Dead Demons Destruction. I secretly, because we don't really talk too much about manga on the podcast, I'm a big Inio Asano fanboy.
Yeah.
And he definitely feels like a, baby's first deep manga, pick for, most people when you're, trying to, where's the deep manga? I'm done with all this Naruto. I want something deep. People are like, okay, go read Pun Pun. And that's usually the first thing people will tell you. But despite that kind of sad boy reputation he's gotten, I do think he is one of the better contemporary manga artists in terms of the kind of stories he's telling, the kind of characters he creates, and the things he's saying with the medium of manga and now through anime, because somehow this man has not really gotten much luck in terms of getting things adapted. But this right here, I think, is an excellent adaptation of what I think might be my favorite of his works. It's really tough because Pun Pun is so good. It is just so depraved and depressing. But I feel like D5, whatever we're going to call it, D8, 8Ds, is just
Keep going.
D's nuts.
There it is. There it is.
It's like a show that really it's talking about everything and nothing at the same time, where there are these girls, they're in the middle of high school, they have their typical issues where, love life's not working out, or I'm just playing video games and not really thinking about my future, just these girls stuck dealing with their normal everyday problems, and at the same time all the supernatural shit's going on. The end of the world is approaching. And at the end of the day, it's kind of about living with both sides of that reality and surrealness. There's the end of the world is coming, but does that stuff matter if I'm not even happy in this world if it didn't end? And I think this show has so many biting criticisms on the real world that I feel don't really get pointed at through anime and manga. And just Asano's writing is just so brilliant, and this adaptation is just so well done. I feel like his art style is also something that's hard to capture because he uses a style that creates such photorealistic backgrounds. But I think they pull it off really nicely in this show. And the one thing that is why it couldn't be my number one is that it just barely, there's something to me that's kind of magical about Asano's art, in that he will have a breathtaking full page spread that are just ingrained in my mind when I read his manga, but those moments don't translate as such big, powerful standalone moments as much in animation. But I still think this adaptation was done really well. I love the voice cast chosen for all the main girls, as well as Ontan's brother. Perfect pick, putting Junichi Suabe in that role. But yeah, I love Asano, and finally getting to see one of my favorite manga adapted so well was a real treat. And I don't know why it took me to the very end of the year to be okay, I gotta watch this before the year ends. Or actually, the year had ended, but I needed to watch it for this episode.
Yeah, it had a very unusual kind of release, and that's probably why I didn't end up watching it. Because if it was like a normal seasonal show, I probably would have given it a shot. But because it was like 2 movies that then got chopped up into episodes, but they started with like an episode 0 that's actually an epilogue that takes place after the whole series, and I guess maybe spoils the whole story, maybe. So I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to go for this immediately, and I haven't read any of the manga, which is another reason I didn't want to spoil it. But yeah, Poon Poon is definitely, one of the greatest manga of all time. And one that I can't really imagine being adapted into anime. Like, you'd have to get a really specific team to pull that off. And yeah, the detail of the artwork is something that you really need to like take in. It's one of the reasons why a Berserk anime will never be as good as the manga. They also happen to have done about as bad of a job as possible in the most recent attempts. But yeah, this like Poon Poon, I just think about like how could they capture that in anime. So it's good that they could at least pull it off for one of his works.
Poon Poon, like, I feel like there's no reason to make it an anime.
Exactly.
There really is like nothing about it that tells me like, oh, I need to see this in motion. It's like, no, not really. Whereas D's Nuts is so like it has a lot of that like introspective, like dialogue heavy, like biting social criticism as Pun Pun would, but it also has an alien invasion and like the US military is getting involved, and there's all this like other crazy supernatural shit going on that was definitely worth an attempt at animating, and it does a good enough job, I would say. It stays as it does. It never really blew my mind, but it stayed consistent throughout, and I think that's good enough.
I appreciate that your last 3 picks were Don Da Don, Delicious in Dungeon, Dead Dead Demons, Destruction.
Yeah.
Would you say you want the D?
I think 2024 was the year of the D.
You had the will of D.
Yeah. I had the will of D. I was. Yeah, I mean, if One Piece could be on this list too, we're all D'd up in here.
I think a better choice for D's Nuts might have been the Don Da Don opening by Creepy Nuts. I could
true.
Call that one.
True.
By the way, yeah, go ahead.
This is what happens when you workshop it live,
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I don't think Poon Poon is the first thing you recommend when people start asking for a deep manga. I think when they're done with the shonen and they want deep manga, you give them Berserk and Takahiko Inoue and Naoki Urasawa, and then when they want to kill themselves, you give them Poon Poon.
That's true.
Or you give them Elfen Lied.
You would think that, but like if you go onto like any Reddit thread that's like, tell me a masterpiece manga to read, like 9 out of 10 times the first comment's gonna be Poon Poon.
I mean, it's true. I think that was like my number 1 recommendation to Cain when he was like, okay, I want a short, completed, non-anime adapted manga from Viz that's really great. And I was like, well, Poon Poon has to be my number 1 recommendation.
Yeah. With those constraints, yes.
But you do have to be like, by the way, if you're feeling a little down, you might kill yourself if you read it, so maybe don't.
Yeah. No, for sure. That one definitely needs some trigger warnings before reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a couple of the episodes of Dead Dead Demons, and I didn't drop it for any particular reason. Like, I liked it. I think it was just another show, kind of like Chainsaw Man, where I was like, I'm not really in the mood for this.
Mm.
But I think one of the things I liked about it the most is how, I guess, non-affected everybody was. It was like very ineffectual by what was going on for the most part. Like, they're still talking about going to college and who they're going to date when there's this looming apocalypse that could happen at any moment. And they're just like, yeah, that's cool, but we're done waiting for it to happen. So we're just gonna go on with whatever our lives are and just deal with it as it goes. It always kind of leaves you a little bit on edge when you were watching it because you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop at any point in time. Like, okay, when is something going to happen that's going to really rock the boat? Because that's clearly how it feels it's going to be. Like, it's going to lull you away and like get you into a false sense of security that, oh, this is just a slice of life with a little bit of a dark, almost sense of humor, like a surrealistic bend because of the context. But then, I think I got as far as like the first real plot, like character development, and then it started to change a little, and that's about the time I dropped it, just because I know I'll go back and watch it. Same with Chainsaw Man. Eventually, I'll be like, I should probably give this another shot. I just wasn't in the right mental space for it at the time.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point you bring up about the like them going through the mundane when it's like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? Because literally a giant like spaceship just like hovering over the city. I think it is important I add the context that he was writing this basically during the pandemic.
well, yeah, that's exactly. It feels like a 1-to-1 remake of some of the stuff that happened. Like, we're over the pandemic now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it's like, let's make a surreal like sci-fi version of like what it feels like when the world's ending, but we have to just keep living, And I feel like that's what Asano does best in a lot of his works, but this one particularly I feel like hits that nail on the head.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check it out in some format one of these days.
Yeah. Definitely worth
I-
a read. I feel like I said, the adaptation is good, but like it's really hard to beat Asano's work.
I'd probably do it in manga for sure.
Yeah.
Now that it's over.
I do appreciate that they did not hold back on like his silly character designs, because some of the most varied and funny looking characters in this fucking show.
Oh yeah, isn't
Right.
like the fucking president of the UN just has like an ass face?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's Assy
Oh.
McGee in charge of the UN essentially, and then there's the older brother who's just like an internet edgelord, but he looks like he would have been hot.
Yep. Minor spoilers. This is one of those shows that has like an amazing, like very brief but amazing, like Trump character.
Okay.
It's so good.
Yeah, I just want to see the crossover Dead Demons Don destruction, where it's just Seiko being like, no, aliens still don't exist.
They would kind of naturally fit. I like that.
Nice. All right. Then my number 2 is Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, Part 3, The Conflict.
Woo.
Yeah. Things are conflicting now.
Yeah. That's how you know something is not quite right.
Yep. We're on the final season, Part 3 of 4. There's a conflict now.
As opposed to before.
Yeah.
This blood war is only now beginning.
Right. Yes, this 1,000-year blood war, only on its third part, has become a conflict. Yeah, I've talked about this a lot. I'm not gonna have a whole ton new to say that I didn't say about like the first season, but just incredible, making a silk purse from a sow's ear or whatever. Because this arc had no business being anywhere near this good. And between letting Kubo kind of tell the story he wanted to tell at the pace he wanted to tell, and recreate it with 5-10 years of hindsight about what the best version of that story is, and a phenomenal team to work with for the anime adaptation, limiting themselves to one core a year, to just make it absolutely stellar in every way. Adding tons of material. They added so much material to this season to flesh out all the stuff that was really underbaked in the manga, and cutting out bullshit that didn't work, stuff that dragged, making it shorter, just really being like, okay, if you had a total fresh slate, how would you tell this story from scratch? And that's something you don't get to see very often, and it's amazing that they're able to elevate it to such heights in this adaptation. This season actually had a new director. The director of the first two was a supervising director, but this had a new director. It actually had a new studio kind of spun off of Pierrot. It's still under like the Pierrot family, but technically a brand new studio working on it. So there was, some cause for concern. Maybe this won't be as exceptional as the previous installments. But for what it had to work with, what it pulled off was still just, absolutely mind-blowing pretty much every week. Some episodes being, at the tier that, like, the big old man battle was in the first season of this round. So, really, really great third core of this story, and I have pretty good confidence that they're going to pull it off in the final one, because, again, they have not a ton of material left to work with, so I think it's going to be a lot of original stuff that is going to work really well, because so far everything they've added has, enhanced it a millionfold. So, and as I'm mentioning the composers for all of these, I guess I didn't mention Hayashi and Haikyuu, but Hayashi fucking slapped in Haikyuu as always. But fucking Shiro Sagisu just keeps getting better and better. Literally everything he works on. And I actually just got the soundtracks of the first two seasons of Thousand Year Blood War, and been listening to those, been listening to all his Ava stuff, especially Rebuild, and just like, that man just keeps topping himself over the years and decades. So, really happy this is getting such incredible treatment.
Yeah. This one, unfortunately, didn't make my list because I only got maybe through half of the season, and that's just because like I fell behind so hard on the winter season that like I just had to like finish what I knew I could finish in the time to like get something on the list. But that one easily would have been somewhere within my top 10 through 6 area. It's really, Bleach fans are eating. Like, they could not have asked for a better way to like come back 10 years later and like get like the best version of Bleach it's ever had.
And I'll mention briefly, I think I probably mentioned this in like our last episode or something, but when this started was also the 20th anniversary of the Bleach anime, and so Pierrot released a little like celebration video where they go through like key scenes of the story in the style of Thousand Year Blood War, and now everyone in the fandom is like, please remake this from scratch in this style with this team. Oh my god. Yeah.
That'd be crazy if they get the Bleach.
The Bleach, that's right. I did mention it last time.
That's
I called it the
was.
Bleach. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say that one could have made an honorable mention shortlist if Fanletter's making them on the list.
I mean, it's valid. It was a 2024 anime. Fanletter happened to be 30 minutes instead of 30 seconds, but technically, if those 30 seconds were better than anything else this year, then you could have included it. Sure.
That's fair. And
That'd be a sad year.
And my number one pick, that anime McDonald's ad.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I think after I know that you like the show a lot and you watched it, and I figured it would be on your list, but I think it's still, out of all the anime that we have talked about and will talk about on our lists, this one is the most shocking to me, if only because I know how badly Bleach kind of ended for its fans and stuff, and how it hadn't been relevant for such a long time, and then it just kind of pops back in like, we're doing this Thousand Year Blood War thing, and it's all of a sudden just it starts in 5th gear.
Yep.
It really saved the franchise's reputation, I will say.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I said this last episode too, like, I'm repeating myself a lot, but I specifically said there is absolutely no development in anime that you could have told me 5-10 years ago that I would believe less than that Bleach would be one of my favorite anime for multiple years in a row. It is the most unbelievable development by far. Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yep. All right, Cain, how about your number 2?
All right, so my number 2 can be summed up in 4 words.
Okay.
to justify the whole thing, and it's going to be Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. And of course, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Daima, which I only loved more and more as it went, despite the acknowledged, I know, like some of the pacing stuff that I had an issue with. But man, this and my number one show are two of the anime this year that I actively looked forward to watching every week. Like, I watch a bunch and I enjoy a bunch of shows, but I don't very often be like, man, I can't wait for like Thursday or Saturday or whatever, and I'm going to be watching this. Most of my shows, I'm like, I'll get around to it. Like, I enjoy them, but I don't think of them as appointment television in the same way that I thought about Daima and my number one show. Like, I just really love the adventure feel, seeing the comeback of, Dragon Ball's like lower stakes but really fun fight scenes, like bar brawls and fighting the Dragon Ball Guardians and stuff that all looked super good and, had a lightheartedness to them despite the fights having some stakes in their world. Like, it was just a really refreshing, not take, but I guess just expansion of the Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z universe to come back to, rather than if Daima was just, and now we're going to have more like power leveling, schlock to go through. So, and the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta like just made my day, because obviously the subreddit and the fandom just had a collective coronary, which is always fun to see. Because Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta has existed, like every character between all of the properties and gacha games and shit, like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta has been around, but it was never like canonized in the same way, and I think it really caught a shitload of people by surprise. That they did it, and then also had Vegeta win his fight, which is also something you never fucking see either.
Good for him.
Yeah, I know, he needed that W, man. He needed that W hard because he's so busy just jobbing all the time.
That's my bad man.
Yeah, that's my bad man. But the fight is probably my favorite of the show, outside of the I think maybe I can't remember what they called him. The Boo stand-in, the
new Majin.
Yeah, the new Majin, but the second one,
Majin
not the first
Ku,
one.
Or
Majin 2.
No,
Yeah.
Majin Ku is literally what it is.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
it's
right.
Majin Ku. Yeah, but I really liked his fight too, because of the way that Majin Ku fights, like in that sort of drunken boxing style, where it's just like he's bendy all over the place and kind of just hits you with his ass or whatever, and that's super entertaining but frustrating, obviously, for the opponent way to watch. But the Vegeta one was a super close second, if only because you got to watch him win and have that transformation and look good doing it. He loses his eyebrows, the whole 9 yards. So overall, just really liked what the show did and what it had to offer. I hope we get to see some action from Piccolo up in here, because he has just kind of been in the backseat the whole time, even though he's also a main character and he has a connection to Daima, like the worlds in particular, because it was revealed that like they're demons born of this universe, and there was a Namekian in, like Daima World number 3 or whatever it was called. So I would like to see him get a little bit of action, a fight, or something along those lines as we go. But yeah, I just really liked it, and I thought it looked really good the whole time. Really kind of great animation. So yeah, that's definitely my my number 2. So anybody who's still on the fence about watching it, like, as long as you like adventure kind of more than action, if you've seen Dragon Ball, you'll like it. I know there's a upsettingly significant swath of people who only know Dragon Ball through Super or Z. So the entire idea of this more comedic adventure is incredibly foreign, which I don't think helped its run, because obviously Dragon Ball is older and our generation in particular, like grew up with Z on Toonami and then Dragon Ball occasionally, and now we're getting to people who they don't even watch Z necessarily. They get Super.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's definitely not at the pace for a typical nowadays Dragon Ball fan to understand, but it's a nice breezy jog, and if you can keep pace with it, I think it does like get better as you sink into it.
All right. I'll read a few more lists before we get to our number ones. So we've got Bacon Lord, number 5, Gigi Harem or Pseudo Harem. Number 4, Shikanoko Noko Noko Kush Tantan. Number 3, oh yeah, I know, maximum brain rot. Number 3, Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Number 2, the VTuber show. What was the English title of this? VTuber Legend. And then number 1, Bravern. Nice. And then from Horb, we have number 5. I'll try to keep English titles for these, I guess. Yakuza, Fiance. Number 4, Mission Yozakura Family. Number 3, bottom tier character Tomozaki. Number 2, Wistoria. Number 1, Blue Box. And then last one from Ancient One, we have number 5, what's the title? The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash. Number 4, Demon Lord 2099. Number 3, Donadon. Number 2, Days with My Stepsister. And number 1, Yata Garasu.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like that the friend lists definitely give us a more well-rounded thing going on, because there's definitely a wheelhouse that we don't usually, any of us aren't really watching, or at least we don't get to talk about during the seasonals, like any of the adjacent isekais or things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't have like an isekai specialist in our roster. Our roster is not deep enough.
No.
Yeah.
Someone shouted out Bravern. I wanted to watch that. I gotta put that on my back burner.
Yeah, I got a number 1 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, my different communities and kind of the different trends that they gravitate toward. So like, of course, with us, we had our top anime of all time, right? Of course, I made us do that for our episode 100. And then, unfortunately, that was like a few months before I joined this Discord server. So I didn't get any of their lists. So then at some point, like 9 months ago, I was like, okay, we're doing this. I want to see everyone in the server's top 10 anime of all time and then aggregate that together and see what the trends are for this community. And yeah, very interesting, both for the individual, like, okay, I feel like I know more about you as a person now from your top 10. And then also as a community, like what does this community gravitate towards? So yeah, I always love getting kind of lists from different subsets of people I know.
Did you learn anything dark? Something you regret?
The dark knowledge.
The dark knowledge.
If anything, I probably gained more respect for some people that maybe usually kind of talk about shows that I don't have much interest in, but then when I ask for their top of all time, I'm like, oh wow, these are all really good. So yeah,
that's good.
More on that side, I think.
I just kind of figured if someone gives you their top 10 anime list, you're gonna lose respect more so than not.
No. Like I always want people to be honest and unique and, tell me something new about them and have, some things that I wouldn't see in anyone else's list. Because that's what's interesting about it to me. So no, I was definitely glad to see some surprises in there.
Yeah, don't worry, Kestrel. You'll never have to worry about respecting me. So I can if I could promise you anything.
I mean, yeah. Considering Prince of Tennis is your number 1. Anyway. All right, we'll move on to our number 1s for 2024.
Yes.
My number 1, the apparently controversial pick in Brandon's eyes, One Piece fan letter.
Woo!
It was...
mute.
Fuck off. Yeah, this is absolutely a fan letter in both the sense of, a letter to the fans and a letter from the fans who have been watching One Piece for 25 years and now get to work on it. And chief among those is Megumi Ishitani, by far the greatest anime director of all time, who has only directed individual episodes of anime to date. So once she gets her own series or movie or whatever, you could say this is the first step in that direction, because One Piece Fan Letter is a standalone TV special. And she got full creative control over that, and even more than all of her episodes, which generally comprise the greatest episodes of One Piece. She just got to absolutely knock it out of the park with this, in just boundless creativity, a celebration of the magic of One Piece and its fandom and people's love for it, what it can be, how it can be so much more than what you expect from One Piece, especially, as a 25th anniversary celebration of the anime, with some of the lows that the anime had reached in the past, getting to see just how high it's come in recent years, and capping off, its first 25 years of straight run through to start off its first ever hiatus, other than a month or two off for COVID. This was just the most you could possibly ask for, especially going into the Fishman Island Kai, which is basically what we're on now. Having something that takes place right in that time skip moment right before Fishman Island is kind of perfectly positioned anyway. But yeah, just the way that she was able to use this kind of little side story novel that nobody really cared about, and just get so much depth and heart out of it to celebrate everything that is One Piece, to the point that this is my favorite anime of the year, and none of the characters have names, right? That's how incredible she was able to express herself in these 22, 23 minutes of content. This is the kind of thing that you can go back to and rewatch just over and over and be moved to tears by how beautiful it is and what it says about One Piece and your relationship to it, and how much you can get invested in characters in just 10 to 20 minutes without even giving them names. And the way that it takes you into the world of One Piece and big events that have been portrayed in One Piece from the perspective of someone who is not superhuman, someone who is on the ground experiencing this absolute insanity playing out in front of them. Just so many tiny little attentions to detail that just make this such an incredible labor of love. And I'm so glad it exists, because other than the manga proper, this is by far the best thing we've ever gotten out of One Piece. None of the movies even come close. Give her a movie, give her a feature film to make, because in 20-ish minutes, she was able to accomplish so much more than any of the directors of the One Piece films have been able to. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway from it, was that Ishitani needs to be in the director's chair for a full length project, and unfortunately, I don't think the industry would be able to handle her on directing a television series. There would need to be a lot to get that to be what it would need to be to pull it off, to be as high quality as the things she makes.
Yeah, exactly.
But a film, now we're talking. I feel like that would be something stellar. So I'm totally intricacies about how lists work aside, I completely respect this pick, because it is the best way we could have celebrated this milestone for One Piece.
And I love that the timing happened to work out, that the day of the week One Piece now airs on happened to fall on the actual 25th anniversary of episode 1 airing. And my first friend whose lists I read, he also put it at number 1, and he's just fucking the luckiest guy, because he was literally, this is my youngest friend, I'll preface this, he was born on the day that One Piece premiered.
Shit.
So sorry to dox you. But
again with this.
At least I didn't say his real name.
What is it?
Well, but yeah, it. So that means that he also got this incredible celebration of the series that he loves so much for his 25th birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It really is a fan letter. God damn.
Yeah. It is a fan letter in every way, in the plot, in what it gives to fans, what it is coming from a fan, and the entire staff at this point. You know, it's been running for 25 years. Probably everyone working on One Piece now grew up watching One Piece, which is insane.
It's beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, and I think to your other point too, I do think Ishitani is probably too much of an auteur to be a series director. Because, you know, what you hear from the staff when she's directing episodes is just like, okay, this is just Ishitani's playground. Like, everyone else is there to serve her vision because her vision is so phenomenal. And that certainly shows in fan letter more than anything. But to give up the kind of individual control you have to for like episode directors in a normal TV anime, I don't know if it would be as just, you know, Ishitani unleashed as fan letter is able to be. So yeah, feature film, let's go.
Yeah, a production committee could not handle her.
No, absolutely.
That's not happening.
Yeah. All right. Getting to our last number ones here. Cain, you want to go next?
Sure. So, as I said earlier, this was one of two shows that I really looked forward to watching every week, and that show would be Ranma Half. Yeah, this was great. This is the most surprising of the anime on the list, especially at number one, because I really didn't know what to think going into it. Like, I knew it was a pretty beloved property. I'd already had an anime adaptation that I'd seen an episode or two of out of context a long time ago on like that one like retro anime streaming Roku app. I can't remember what it's called right now. Retro Crush, something
Retro
like that.
Crush, yeah.
Retro Crush.
So I wanted to give it a shot because I thought it looked good. I knew that it was, you know, something that people really liked. And I was incredibly surprised by how much it grew on me almost instantly. Like, I don't know if I could name a better, like, voice acting match for the character than whoever plays Ranma. Like, it's just nasally in the right ways to be annoying, but not grating. I think he also plays a character. He plays one of the characters in Sakamoto Days as well. He plays the blonde one, Shin. I think it sounded familiar enough, but yeah, like just the dynamic between all the characters, the comedy that's interspersed with action, and how people are always on the verge of just beating the shit out of each other. One of my favorite jokes of the series as we were watching it was Shampoo and how she enters every building like the Kool-Aid Man and doesn't acknowledge that at all. Just like goes like hi when she just destroyed an entire wall and then proceeds to not even acknowledge any of that action that she did or the property damage that she caused the whole time. And I also got a chuckle every time a challenge turned into, oh, this is martial arts ice skating. Oh, this is martial ballroom dancing. Whatever you wanted, it always turned into martial arts, no matter how much they tried not to make it that way. So it's just such a delight to watch, and I think the character redesigns are great. Like, they're not redesigned, so to speak, but it has that really nice HD 2D type feel where the style is preserved as much as possible while updating the visuals to be a little more of what people are comfortable with in 2024, 25, as well as making everything like really crisp and colorful and vibrant. I haven't really bothered to look into people's opinions on things like how Ranma's hair is more pink than red. Now, I'm sure someone out there had just, you know, fucking had the biggest hissy fit of their lives over it, but I think it is a perfectly fine addition. And also, whoever plays the girl version of Ranma is great too, because that voice is incredibly annoying in all the right ways at the same time. So, yeah, it was just a joy to watch. The action is well animated in ways that I wasn't expecting at all. I love Pichon. and how he keeps getting away with just being a pig and no one seems to make the connection except for villains. So, yeah, the villains always seem to know right away, but the main characters just don't, other than Ranma. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to more of this, and I hope it gets the full adaptation, because it sounds like it's just something that is, so consistently good across the board. So that's really it. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's just like, just go out and watch it if you want a 10 out of 10 action comedy that also has a couple, romantic things here and there, because the central conceit of the story is, a marriage that is not supposed to happen, even though they gradually become, more fond of each other as the story goes. So, yeah, Rama One Half was definitely my favorite of the year, and maybe Emily's as well, because she really liked watching that show with me as well. That or Don to Don. So,
why didn't you get Emily's top 5, Cain?
Because there would be 2.
Yeah, just speaking about the Seiyu, since you brought it up a few times, unlike the Urusei Yatsura reboot, they did keep most of the original Seiyu from the 80s for this one.
Oh, wow.
So that includes both Ranma voices. So yeah, these are the same 2 who have been voicing him/her since 1980, whatever.
Cool. So kind of like how Spice and Wolf did it too.
Yeah, except it's been a lot longer. Yeah.
Yeah, but the same thing, like updated visuals and everything, but like the characters are still going to be familiar enough that you don't have to adjust that much. Like we're not completely changing what they sound like either. So yeah, that's perfect. That casting is great.
Yeah. I gotta pick that up. Ranma was definitely like a comfort watch back when I was younger. Seems like it looked like a really good adaptation. So, but I gotta say, pink hair instead of light red, more like Wokema One Half.
Oh
nice, fucking got him, bam,
got him.
Episode title. Forget this forget this top 10
Forget
shit.
This top 10.
Just put Wokema One Half.
It's between that and Bran Wants the D.
Bran wants.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Number one here.
One more number one, and that is my number one, and that number one is Look Back, my favorite of the year. So the Look Back manga, when I first read it, blew me away. I wrote up a review for it for Fandom Post. You could go check that out. But it really is, to me, one of my favorite one-shot mangas ever written. To me, it's just like just like in the limited space of that manga and in the limited space of this 1 hour feature, it's just a perfectly little made story. And it's a beautiful, it's one of those things that is, I think one of the best things a film can do to you, or a piece of art in general, is to just be life affirming. And this, I feel like one of the biggest points of this story is to just, keep going. And it's just like a beautiful, similar to One Piece fan letter. It's just like literally like a love letter to art itself and to the passion of creators. And something that I don't think, this would not have been an intention when Fujimoto originally did the manga, but I feel like with the adaptation and with, as you mentioned before, Oshiyama just putting so many elements of this film on his back, this film, especially coming out in 2024, feels like it is the poster child of like anti-AI. It is just like, it really is just like the human spirit of like working and creating art to like the fullest extent. And just like, this is the result of like someone who is so passionate about what they do and making what originally was a love story to the medium of manga, it still is that as a story, but like this feature film is also a love letter to animation, and I feel like Oshiyama just captured it perfectly. Like I could not ask for a better adaptation of Fujimoto's work. And I know, like I love Chainsaw Man, but I know a lot of people had qualms about like stylistically how it should have been. Where some people are like, "Oh no, it's good that it like kind of has this almost like American film kind of style." Where some people thought it needed to be more zany, less muted colors, and like there's definitely a point of contention for the Chainsaw Man adaptation that I understand both sides of the argument. For Look Back, there really is no contention about like how it could have been done any differently. To me, it is just like perfect, and that's why I had to put it at number 1 personally.
If you had to choose the manga or the anime at this point,
oh, that's tough. They really are equal. I think it is like a matter of preference. If you prefer manga, you should read it, and if you prefer anime, you should watch it, because
fair,
they both deliver what they need to do. And I personally think the answer is read it and then watch it. Like
Sure.
you should do both. Yeah, sorry, I total BS answer there.
No, it's fine.
No, it is just so beautiful, and like there are instances where I could nitpick like here or there why you should do one over the other, but I really can't come up with one. They're both just incredible, and it really makes me excited, but also anxious for a hopeful an adaptation of Goodbye Eri, which was Fujimoto's other one shot he did within like a year span of that. If it comes even close to as the production that was behind Look Back, like I am seated here. I'm here for cinema.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this when it was first announced, and I think we were both kind of on the same page about, well, Look Back makes sense to be a manga. Eri was always meant to be a film.
Yeah.
So I think, unless things go wrong, I think it could make a really phenomenal feature film.
Yeah.
So I hope it gets anywhere near that kind of treatment. And I wanted to kind of tie that into some of the questions that I did ask Oshiyama in my interview, because I, asked him kind of like, what are you doing to make this make sense as an anime, since it's a manga about manga? And in conjunction with one of my other questions, which was like, how did this end up being like you doing every job? And his answers kind of went hand in hand there, where he was like, because it's a story so much about, someone putting their all into, creating this singular work to express themselves, I felt that would be best expressed in anime if I tried to do as much of it myself as possible, and just pour my life into it in the same way. And he, along with being the director, writer, animation director, character designer, and studio head, etc., he also did a lot of the key animation, including like the running through the rain scene, which is, a really important moment, and one that really, it was an iconic moment in the manga, and kind of like we were talking about with Asano, like you have these iconic spreads in manga, right? How do you make it as effective in anime? And so, what's the answer? You make it something that can only be done in anime.
You animate the hell out of it.
You animate the hell out of it. Yeah. So, you kind of justify that idea that the manga and anime are both equal and necessary, because a scene like that in the manga can only be executed that effectively in the manga, and in the anime it could only be executed that effectively in anime. So he does the right thing, which is use the medium that you're working in to the fullest to deliver this product. And that's exactly what it is.
That's awesome. I'm glad you got to do that interview, because that's so revealing about like why he took this project on and why he put that much on his back.
Yep.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yep. All right, so that are all of
Good
our
stuff.
top 10s and top 5s and such. So let me do some aggregation here. So I will first just aggregate our top 10s, and that's gonna give us decent top 5-ish, it looks like. So there's some ties pretty early on here, and I think it's gonna be the same with the everyone's list altogether. But what we have here is our number 5. At this point, we're already in tie territory. In fact, we are in only one person had this on their list territory, which is our 2 number 1s that were not on any of each other's lists. So that's Ron 1/2 and One Piece fan letter with 10 points each. Then at number 4, we start to get into the overlaps. We got Haikyuu the Dumpster Battle with 13 points. Number 3, Delicious in Dungeon, also with 13 points. Number 2, Look Back with 14 points. And number 1, not surprising, it's the only thing on all of our lists and was in all of our top 5s, Don with 21 points.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Yeah, no big surprise there. That was the obvious what did all 3 of us love this year anime, so no question there. And then I will do our top 5 since I only took top 5s from everyone else. So we'll cut off a few of those last ones, but putting together all the lists we got as well as ours up to our top 5s. Also some ties even with that. So we have here for number 4, we've got a 2-way tie, so essentially number 4/5. This is Days to My Stepsister and John McCain and His Losing Heroines. And each of those had 9 points and 1 number 1 each. Then at number 3, One Piece fan letter with 10 points and 2 number 1s. Number 2, Look Back with 13 points and 2 number 1s. And again, Don as at number 1 with 17 points, still a strong lead on both lists, and yet on both lists, one of the only ones with nobody putting it at number 1. So everyone loved Don, nobody loved it the most this year. So that's interesting to see.
That's fair.
Yep.
Beautiful. I feel like McCain got enough mentions tonight that he might have to make the thumbnail.
Oh, God.
We'll see if I can work
Can it be okay? So can you make it when John McCain thumbs down the banishment of the ACA and just have all of our other anime be the other senators?
Oh my god! All right.
If you can find a way to Photoshop it a little bit into the anime Makain, then I'll allow it.
Okay.
Even though it was not on any of our top 10s.
It was not.
Nor have we even talked about it on the podcast a single time, to my recollection.
So. No, we did not.
That's what makes the idea fantastic.
I think, yeah, if you can Photoshop John McCain on one of the Makain girls with the katakana for both Makain and McCain, which is the same, underneath it, then I'll allow it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, those were our thoughts on the best anime of 2024, other than Rollover, since obviously Frieren was actually the best. Yeah. Any final thoughts? Final jabs to throw at people's bad tastes?
I will say overall it was an alright year for anime. Nothing like super outstanding, but let's hope 2025 is even crazier.
Yeah. Starting off the year with a new season of Apothecary Diaries, you could do worse.
True. I have no idea what's airing right now. I gotta figure that out real quick.
Yeah. All right.
Apothecary Sakamoto Days too.
Yes.
True. Yeah. And that one I knew about. We will talk a lot about that, I assume, on the seasonal podcast. But I have been very scared for this anime to show up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is either my first or one of the very, very rare occurrences where I have read the source material before the anime comes out.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I can see it from that perspective, because 9.5 times out of 10 is the other way around.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting experience watching the first episode and being like, oh, I remember that.
All right, but that's all for next episode. So
True.
for now, you can find Fandom Post Radio anywhere you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, YouTube. What's the SoundCloud? Yeah, all those podcatchers, they'll all have us. Fandompost.com as well. On social media, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Fandom Post Radio. If you didn't get your list into us, you can send it over and we will judge you harshly for it. And you can also just email us, fandompostradio@gmail.com, because social media is a mess. I am very consistently named across the internet. You can find me on the Fandom Post forums at Ginga Daiuchu. You can find me on Facebook at Kestrel. You can find me on Twitter as Full Metal Kyoma. You can find me on Blue Sky as Kestrel Swift, and you can find me on my anime list as Full Metal Freerin. So
And when
Nice.
are we going to be able to find you on Red Note?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, once I learn Mandarin, you'll find me on Red Note as I don't know, the Chinese translation of one of those.
I'm glad you
Yeah,
didn't
anyway.
attempt it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can find me on Fandom Post writing stuff. I am reviewing Sakamoto Days. I have not read the manga past the first few chapters. And yeah, we'll see how that turns out. And I just published a little piece about Anime Los Angeles, where I just went to last weekend while Los Angeles was burning down. And mostly 99% of it was about what I went to the convention 99% for, which is an old guy called Shinichiro Watanabe.
Oh, baby.
Yep, so you can read me talk about that experience a little bit, and I think that's all I got for right now. How about you, Brando?
You can find me at Hellshake Brando on your various social platforms. Find me here on the podcast, having shitty opinions, making shitty thumbnails.
Excellent thumbnails.
Thank you. I haven't written much for Fandom Post in a minute, but just because it's topical, you can go read my look back manga review, which published back when that happened. So yeah.
I will say, genuinely, I think 3 of the best pieces of writing that I've seen about anime and manga in the past few years are your review of the look back manga, my friend Andrew's review of the look back manga, and my friend Andrew's review of the look back anime.
Oh man. Well, I appreciate that. I think it's my best review, so like
I agree. Yeah. It was one of those ones where at the time I was upset because of how well written it was.
Love that.
Yeah. And Cain, unless you've made a Blue Sky or My Anime List or Red Note in the past couple weeks, I imagine
Man,
you were
who are you
still
talking to?
exclusive to us.
2025, it's a different Cain. He's on he's on everything.
You can find Cain on TikTok for the next 2 or 3 days before it gets banned in this country.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride the last crashing wave of TikTok real quick.
Yeah.
Nope, right here as always.
Nice. Lovely. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We will be back hopefully before too long talking about this new winter season that we are well into. And yeah, until then, see you later.
Bye bye.
See ya.